Hi, welcome to Storytime today. Today we're reading Pirate Pete's Talk Like a Pirate. Maybe by the time we're done with this book, you can figure out how to talk like a pirate, if that's something you want to do. Or maybe you already know how. Pirate Pete had the most amazing ship ever to sail the high seas, but he needed a crew, and not any old crew would do. I need me a pirate crew, Pete told his parrot, and I know just where to find one, Rascal Island. To Rascal Island we go, cried the bird. Pete spun the wheel toward the Sea of Mischief, and soon his speedy ship had reached Rascal Island. Pete dropped the anchor in the bay, and then he hung a sign across the ship's bow, "Buccaneers wanted." Before long, a boat filled with rascals rowed up to the ship. Pete rubbed his hands in glee. They were the dirtiest, most mischievous, and sneakiest looking scallywags and scurvy dogs he had ever laid his eyes on. One by one, the rascals climbed out of the boat. "Listen up, mateys," announced the parrot. "If you want to sail with Pete, then you've got to prove you've got what it takes." Pete nodded and declared, "You needs a peg leg and an old eye patch, a fierce-looking hook and a beard ye can scratch. Ye gots to load a cannon and know how to fire it, but most of all, ye's got to talk like a pirate." A rascal stepped forward, loaded the cannon, and fired it. "Nice firin'," said Pete, "and I see you got a peg leg, hook, and an eye patch. And that beard of yours, does it hanker for a scratch?" "It is quite itchy," answered the man, "especially during the summer, when the weather tends to be sultry." "Blow me down," bellowed Pete. "You don't talk like a pirate. Walk the plank." As the man splashed overboard, Pete hollered, "Ye should have said, when the sun's ablaze and me beard gets the itches, worse than a bucket of sand down me britches." "Next," ordered the parrot. Pete squinted at the rest of the rascals and said, "Ye's got to be stubborn and mighty cranky. Ye's got to be dirty and awfully stanky. Ye's got to load a cannon and know how to fire it. But most of all, ye's got to talk like a pirate." A rascal stepped forward, loaded the cannon, and fired it. "Nice firin'," said Pete, "and I see that you're plenty dirty and stanky. But is ye stubborn and cranky?" "Oh, indeed," replied the rascal. "Sometimes I'm very irritable, especially when I don't eat my breakfast." Does that sound like a pirate to you? "Shiver me timbers," shouted Pete. "Ye don't like a pirate. Ye don't talk like a pirate. Walk the plank." Uh-oh. As the rascal went overboard, Pete cried, "Ye should have said, I's as mean as a shark that's stuck in a tub when I've not scarfed me morning grub." "Next," squawked the bird. Pete glared at the rascals and said, "Ye's gots to love treasure, why it's your duty to plunder the ship and store for gleamin' booty. Ye's got to load a cannon and know how to fire it, but most of all, ye's got to talk like a pirate." A rascal stepped forward, loaded the cannon, and fired it. "Nice firin'," said Pete, "and judgin' by the gold and rubies you're flauntin', I reckon you've done some plunderin' in your day." "That is correct," said the rascal. "I've misappropriated a number of fine jewels without permission." Does that sound like a pirate to you? What do you think? "Blimey," cried Pete, "ye don't talk like a pirate. Walk the plank." As the rascal leaped overboard, Pete shouted, "Ye should have said, I've pilfered loot on land and sea, and no man say so has ever stopped me." "Next," blared the parrot. Pete shook his head. He had finally lost his patience. He curled up his lip at the last rascal and declared, "Ye gots to trim the sails and mind the decks. Ye gots to be brave in case of shipwreck. Ye's got to load a cannon and know how to fire it, but most of all, ye's got to talk like a pirate." The rascal walked forward, loaded the cannon, and fired it. "Nice firin'," said Pete, "but is ye brave? 'Cause no lily-livered seafarer is going to sail with me." "I can assure you that I am extremely courageous," said the rascal. "I will conduct myself with valor at all times." Does that sound like a pirate to you? "Confound it!" shouted Pete, stomping his foot. "Ye don't talk like a pirate. Walk the plank." Oh no, that was all the rascals. What do you think he'll do? As the rascal dropped overboard, Pete yelled, "Ye should have said, I'm not a yellow-bellied bone. I've not a yellow-bellied bone. From me head to me toes, I'll stand brave upon the ship wherever she goes." "Can you believe it?" Pete moaned to his parrot. "Out of all the rascals, not one of them was fit for me crew." "'Tis true," squawked the bird. "By the powers, there's no more than a bunch o' squiffies and sprogs, none of them fit to go a swashbuckling and a plundering for pieces of 8 upon the briny blue of this here vessel." Pete blinked. "Why, you just talked like a pirate," he cheered to the bird. "You're all the crew I needs. Weigh anchor." "Aye, aye," said the parrot, and off they sailed. Back to the high seas went Pete and his bird. A pirate always gets the last word. They looked for a crew so they could hire, but blimey, none of them could talk like a pirate. And that's the end of our story for today. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.